The EU is in danger of becoming a regional minnow. Its share of global GDP has more than halved in the last 30 years. Its growth condemns it to long-term, relative economic decline and riddled with bad debt. Propped up by the funny money printed by a non-sovereign central bank, it teeters on the brink of financial crisis. Without major change, vast swaths of the EU will in the next 50 years become a living museum to be visited by the burgeoning middle class and the thousands of millionaires in China. This is a sad state of affairs. China is a nation propping up two of the most vicious regimes on earth, North Korea and Burma, while it crushes democracy in Hong Kong. China has released a global pandemic and profited from it with economic super growth of 8%. The EU has been averaging around 1 to 2% for years. Despite all of its faults, the EU is broadly democratic, capitalist and generally respects property rights, the rule of law and freedom of speech. By contrast, China is pseudo-capitalist, crony-capitalist, anti-democratic. It respects property rights when it suits and applies the rule of law through military courts. Free speech is an anathema and there is no democratic pressure in existence to change this. China controls over 80% of rare earths, necessary for the green energy revolution, and many Western countries are dependent on components and consumer goods produced there. This is merely an example of the challenge that global Britain faces in choosing its principal trading partners. A recent government report identified China as at one and the same time the greatest long-term threat to our way of life and yet a country with whom we should do business. Fortunately we have choices, countries who share the same head of state as the UK, similar values and norms, the same language, the English common law, property to rights and capitalism, and who already share security and defense arrangements are chomping at the bit for a trade arrangement. These countries are collectively, with the UK, equivalent to a third of the US economy and more than that of the EU economy. They have abundant natural resources and are of course CANZ-UK, that is Canada, Australia, New Zealand and the UK. They are countries who should share a common travel arrangement and free trade. Agriculture should not be allowed to stand in the way. They will also help facilitate Britain's entry into the Trans-Pacific Partnership where, as in the past, our future trade with fast-growing economies rests. How wonderful that Britain again will be retracing the trade routes explored driven by wind and sail in the age of the World Wide Web. In addition to these great strides that the government should pursue with gusto is our future relationship with the USA, with the Middle East and with India, not forgetting that the fastest growing continent is Africa. A deal with the USA, already our biggest single-country trading partner, would eclipse the EU overnight. Britain should be flexible to facilitate this. On things like food standards, nobody can seriously suggest that the US is unsafe. India is protectionist and has growing issues with respect to the rule of law but is fundamentally based on UK capitalism, common law and language. It would be marvelous to build on our existing relations, especially given the family contacts which already exist in Britain. We have strong allies and good relations with many Gulf states and with Israel. These provide great opportunities to build on already substantial trade and security links. Many African countries are members of the Commonwealth. Some that were not even former colonies have elected to join. This should give the UK a strong platform for economic development. The future of global Britain is bright, but the government needs to put as much effort into supporting trade as it does into inward investment. Most of all, we should bear in mind that even if Britain developed no trade arrangements, we would still trade. And, as 70% of our economy is domestic, provided the government adopt the correct tax policy and is prepared to seek better regulation, the UK will boom. John Longworth is a former Conservative MEP. He is chairman of the Independent Business Network and sits on the advisory board of the IEA.